Okay, good evening, folks. Thanks for your patience. We had a few technical things to work out. Welcome to the Tuesday, October 28th meeting of the New London Planning Board. We are going to change the order of the agenda just a little bit. Russ, did you want to come up and talk through what you'd like to talk about? Just make sure the light turns green on there.
Thank you. It's Russ Moore from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Is that better? Yeah, thank you. Thank you for making time from your very busy agenda and tight schedule to talk a little bit about the idea of that our committee has developed called the Walkable New London Initiative. And I have some slides here. But joining me from the committee this evening is Woody Kennedy and Ed Condick. So thank you very much for participating. I know that the town is dealing with many very immediate and burning issues, but I just want to remind the planning board and members of the public here that we do want to pay attention to the health and long-term well-being of our residents, and part of that is providing outdoor recreational opportunities for them. So the purpose of our committee is to improve bicycling and pedestrian access and safety for residents and visitors. We've been in existence for about 2 years, and we were formed through the Board of Selectmen to address some concerns citizens had about sidewalks, but our mandate has expanded to talk about multimodal transportation in town. The Walkable New London Initiative is an effort to ensure that visitors and residents have opportunities to enjoy our town, the aesthetics of our town, the physical beauty of our town, and have the opportunity to visit small businesses and to enjoy some walking routes that we're suggesting that the town develop. These walking routes do not include any major infrastructure changes. We're not building walking paths separate from the roads. We're not going to be doing any kind of major modifications to intersections. We may have some directional signage for the walking routes. We may also have some slight enhancements to key intersections to make them a little more pedestrian friendly. So that's sort of the Walkable New London Initiative. We've begun the process of talking to small businesses, to community groups, to walking groups. We have gotten some excellent feedback from downtown walkers. As many of you know, there's a cadre of downtown walkers of various ages and abilities that walk our town year-round, summer, winter. The focal point or the origin point of these walking routes we're proposing would be a pocket park at 328 Main Street in back of the Chamber information booth. That would be the origin point. So we have several different walking routes that we're considering, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But the origin point for these walking routes would be, in other words, the beginning and the ending of the walking routes of various distances would be this pocket park. And some really good news for the town is that this project will be completely funded by private donations, including contributions of labor, materials, and we do not have the cost estimates for the project at this time, but the New London Bike Walk Coalition is fully supportive of this project. That's a private nonprofit organization, and is committing $2,500 to the construction cost of the pocket park. The New London Bike Walk Coalition also serves as a conduit for charitable contributions, so it can accept charitable contributions from grants, foundation grants, or other entities. I've been in contact with many of the neighbors, including Tracy Memorial Library, Woodcrest Assisted Living, Bar Harbor Bank, the Apple Blossom Montessori School, the New London Inn. They've all expressed unreserved support for the installation of a pocket park. There are a few entities I still need to reach out to, but we're planning a neighbors meeting in December of people who are adjacent to the park. The walking routes, the suggested walking routes include, but may not be limited to, a community walk that's really sort of focused on adults, and then a longer community walk, two options for family walks, and one of them would take advantage of the new sidewalk in front of Colby Sawyer College that's under construction, which is going to be wide, flat, and very accessible for people of all ages and abilities. And another one would be a short walk right downtown. We would anticipate both residents and visitors, stopping at cafes, talking to neighbors. It's been demonstrated that communities that walk have stronger civic activity from their citizens because they talk to their neighbors, they find out what's going on in town, they share concerns with each other. So walking is not just putting one foot in front of the other. One of the proposed routes would be simply starting at the Chamber information booth, going down Main Street, turning right on Squires Lane, going down to Barrett Road, and then continuing on Everett Park, all the way by Holman Lane to Main Street again, and then up Main Street back to the Chamber of Commerce. So that is, based on my very rough calculations, 57 minutes and 2.7 miles. It's flat and would be considered sort of moderate walking. There are some challenges. I know Adam and Sam are aware of this. South Pleasant Street and Barrett Road is kind of a intersection that has poor sight lines. So there are things to be addressed, but that's just one possibility of a route. The pocket park, I'll just talk very briefly about, is 328 Main Street. And again, it would be the origin point for these walks, and what we see in the pocket park is a directional sign that would also have interpretive information about our walks, and there'd be a QR code so people can get the routes right on their phone. The routes would also be on our town website. So this would be at the municipal lot going into the park area. This is municipal property now. I should make that clear. And the Board of Selectmen have to make a determination about whether this pocket park enhancement of the existing space is appropriate and beneficial to the community. So we understand that. Other concepts of the pocket park, other components of the pocket park would be benches and plantings. We're thinking about very low profile kind of environment. We're not talking about gazebos, fountains, statues, but a relaxing space, a quiet space, a restful space. In addition to the benches and the plantings, there would be some paths that might have sort of a wavy pattern to them like this. What the material will be for those paths would be in consultation with the Department of Public Works, Adam, and obviously other people with more expertise than I have. The projected timeline for this project, just quickly, is the first item is this meeting tonight. The second item is discussion with the Board of Selectmen at their December 18th meeting. We would have a whole phase of community outreach and visioning in the winter and spring of 2026. We would hope for town approval in the fall of 2026. Fundraising would be happening next summer, all the way through the winter. The final drawings and town approvals would happen in the spring of '27. Construction would happen in the spring of '27. And we'd hope to open the park by late summer of 2027. I was told to be very brief, so I think that's what I'm going to do. But I hope that we can build a safer and healthier community together. This is a photo, this last photo is a photo of a bike safety event at Kearsarge Elementary School, where many of us worked in collaboration with the police department to promote bike safety among young students. So at this time, I'd be more than willing to entertain any questions about the project. It's at the conceptual stage now, I want to emphasize. We haven't received any approvals from town entities, but at the conceptual stage is a really good time to get input from other people. So I'd like to hear from members of the planning board or members of the public. I don't know if you folks have anything to add. Do you want to mention about voting? Oh, yes. Okay, excuse me. We have engaged professional services. Bonin Architects and Associates has agreed to provide pro bono services to us, including a schematic concept drawing of the pocket park. They also have agreed to do some ongoing consulting advice and develop some cost estimates with us and provide more detailed engineering drawings as needed. Thank you for that addition. Again, questions at this time?
Ross, excuse me. One thing you should bear in mind, once this is done, who is going to maintain it? Is it going to be something that will be fall to the Public Works Department to take care of the benches and the shrubbery or whatever else is planted? And I think that should be thought about a lot before you start adding too many things.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. I think our plan is to engage volunteers in both the construction of this, but also to assist in the maintenance efforts. I have not spoken to the Garden Club yet. I'm sure that they want to be fully apprised of any plans regarding the space. I had hoped to meet with Adam and Sam before this meeting, but I am meeting with them Friday, and I know that's a concern that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Russ, one thing I would consider, and I'm not aware of any immediate future plans from the town to need to expand the parking lot, but focusing sort of park-based amenities on the Woodcrest side may buffer you for a longer period of time, so that if in 5 or 10 years we need to add some more spaces, you're sort of outside of that hopefully it's far enough down the road that it won't feel like you just put this park in there and it has to be moved.
That's an excellent point. We were envisioning kind of 3 areas. The area described right next to the municipal lot was kind of the orientation and directional kind of information area. And then we were, because of traffic and whatever, we were thinking of sort of the rest relaxation space being in the rear next to Woodcrest. Mm-hmm. But I understand that factor, and there's a very large tree there also, which I believe is a memorial tree, so I think there's some sensitivity around that particular specimen. That is something also sort of has to be addressed because it's really kind of dominating about 1/3 of the space. So there may be a way to sort of rework those sort of 3 areas that we're envisioning, and not put things like right next to the parking lot is what I think you're saying. Yeah.
Yep.
Any other comments? at this time.
Yeah, Russ, so let's hear from the board first, and then we can ask the public. This is all obviously very interesting. We've talked a little bit about this before. It's obviously going to end up being a select board thing more than anything, since town-owned land and not really per se the planning board's purview, but it's certainly interesting to hear about, for sure.
Yeah, I was just wondering, especially with behind the library, obviously they have that beautiful space. Are you, or I guess I would implore you to have conversations, because if people are utilizing one, having that connection, and I feel like the garden behind the library is kind of like our little secret garden.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you've had conversations with them, if that's something that maybe you're getting all this information and you're providing this beautiful park, having that somehow, some connection might be nice.
Yeah, I did speak with the executive director, Richard, of the library this week, and he was very excited about, having that kind of more active green space right next to the library. One thing he mentioned is that they put out like little temporary displays for the children's storybook hour, and that could possibly be, a site for that, that we should think about with the Montessori school that is going to be established and the library's children's program, like how will children benefit from or be engaged in the space. We haven't had a lot of discussion about that at the committee level, but that was something that Richard mentioned to me today. Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Russ. Are there other questions from the board? Yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to make a comment that Russ has put a lot of time and effort into this, and I appreciate it. We all do, the members of a team that are here.
Thank you very much.
Amazing
absolutely.
To see what kind of work he's done. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are there any comments from the public or questions? Okay, appreciate it, Russ. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
And thanks for all the work on this as well, as we said, for your whole group. Okay, thanks again, guys. That was insightful. So next up, we're going to talk to the New London Hospital Association for a conceptual. Who would like to start off? Just if that's, yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us this evening to start to have this conversation with you. My name is Lori Underwood. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of New London Hospital. I'm a New London resident, and I've worked at New London Hospital for 20 years. So just to give some context, I've worked with Adam on a number of things over the years. And I have with me tonight two colleagues, David Duncan, who's the System Vice President of Facilities for the Dartmouth Health System, and Eric Gerard, who's the Director of Land Development for VHB, is our partner on site plan development for this project. So just to give a little bit of why are we here talking about this. New London Hospital has been providing care to this community for over 100 years. We have current surgical services space that was designed and constructed in the mid-1990s. A lot has changed in the last 30 years with how surgical services are performed. New technology required to perform surgeries has obviously been implemented over time. There are a lot of big pieces of radiology equipment and specific tables and things that are used in the operating rooms. The regulations related to how these spaces assure safety to the patient and decrease the opportunity for infections has also changed a lot over that 30 years. There are a lot more instruments utilized in the procedures that are provided, and what is now a lot has changed related to what is now considered an ambulatory or same-day surgery. So over the last 5 years, we've seen a significant increase in the utilization of our services in this area, in orthopedics, general surgery, neurosurgery, urology, and in endoscopy procedures, so colonoscopies and upper endoscopy procedures. The majority of those patients do go home same day. About 90% of them do. but some do require overnight stays in our hospital. So the location of any expanded surgical area would need to be contiguous to the hospital for transportation of patients. During this time, patients have experienced superior outcomes experiences, and surgeon and staff have been highly engaged and take pride in the work that they do in this really antiquated space that they function in. We began conversations about 3 years ago, thinking about what is the future of surgical services in a community hospital, in a critical access hospital. During the duration of our planning, the use of our surgical area, which is 2 small ORs, operating rooms at 450 square feet each, and 1 small endoscopy room, continued to grow to the point of today. It is absolutely fully occupied. There is no more room to be able to squeeze anything else in. The post-recovery areas are stretched, and central sterile reprocessing area is very small. So in partnership with the DH system, we started a couple years ago on a thorough strategic planning process, because obviously this is a really, really large investment for anything you do with the operating room, which is the most expensive space that you can build in a community hospital. And through that, the system and New London Hospital and our board came to the conclusion that replacement and expansion of our existing services space would allow us to continue to provide surgical services to New London and the surrounding communities into the future, and expand potentially the services that can be provided close to home for people. By increasing access in New London at other community hospitals, the Dartmouth-Hitchcock Medical Center, Mary Hitchcock Memorial Hospital main campus would be more open to be able to do the more complex surgeries, cardiac surgeries, things that can't happen in the community. And so trying to look at how do we use the resources that we have in the Upper Valley to provide the best care for patients in the place where the service is provided in the best way, and where the patient wants it to happen. So during this past summer, the Board of Trustees of New London Hospital and the Dartmouth Health Board of Trustees gave us, me and Dave, approval to proceed with the design of this project. We've been conceptually thinking about this project, working with an architect for the better part of 3 years, kind of off and on. But getting to the point where if we don't start, you can't get there. So we are really looking to design this in such a way that it can meet the needs of our facility for quite a number of years, at least 30 to 50 years. The replacement and expansion of the surgical services space, let's see, hang on a second, I lost my place. So the what? New London's not planning to add any inpatient bed capacity. We're a 25-bed critical access hospital, and that will not change. We are planning in this conceptual design that I'm going to ask Eric to present to you to demolish one of the wings that used to house the Clough Center and currently houses office space, supply chain, and facilities, and we would replace it with a 2-story building with space to replace the 2 existing small ORs with larger ORs, and add 2 additional ORs of the same size for future growth in the area. And it is contiguous to the current surgical space. We would replace the existing pre-surgical preparation and post-surgical recovery spaces and add new capacity. We'd replace the small central sterile processing space with appropriately sized and fit up central sterile reprocessing space, and replace our current supply chain area with a larger supply chain storage facility, including a loading dock, which we have never had at New London Hospital. We actually accept large items through our MRI dock sometimes. So the other thing that we would be doing in this is really trying to build as much storage space as we can. If Jay were here, he would tell you we are constantly moving things around, trying to keep the corridors clean. We would use our existing small operating rooms as procedure or endoscopy rooms when the project is complete. Right now, I think there's a backlog in the system of many hundreds of patients who need colonoscopies. And so, this would allow us to be able to help with that backlog. The conceptual ideas that Eric will share come from many hours of trying to find the right location on the New London campus. So on your agenda, the actual parcel of land is the incorrect parcel. We're talking about the hospital institutional zone, so the main part of the hospital. I think it's 7218, yeah. The ideas that we're going to share allow us to continue to operate during our normal operations during construction, which is really important so that we don't have to shut down. We shut down for 6 weeks last summer to put an air conditioning unit in, and that was painful for everybody. It really pushed off a lot of things, and fortunately we're able to catch up. But we would have limited interruption in service. Certainly there would be interruption, for how we operate and how we communicate, but as far as running our operating rooms up until the time that this were able to be utilized, it would be a very limited time period that we'd be interrupted. And the elephant in the room is, have you started having conversation about water? We have. We actually, Dave and I went to the water precinct meeting in August and started talking about water. We anticipate meeting hopefully with them again next week. We've done a lot of research trying to understand what the incremental water usage would be. We do not anticipate the need for an additional water connection for this project. We have multiple water connections within the building, and one of them, in fact, was serviced our nursing home, which closed about 9 years ago. And over the past 10 years, we've experienced a substantial decrease in water consumption over those years in a very purposeful kind of way. And hopefully we can work something, we're really working with the water precinct to come up with a solution that works for everyone. So I'm going to introduce Eric and let him talk about our conceptual design, and I'm happy to answer any questions after he's presented.
Great, thank you, Lori. My name is Eric Girard. I'm a civil engineer. I'm the Director of Land Development for VHB in our Bedford, New Hampshire office. And it's been great working with New London Hospital, Dartmouth Health on this project. We put a lot of work in the past month just to get to this point with the project team. So really excited to kind of start this process with the board, introducing the project. We're really here at the conceptual level just to get that feedback, so when we come back with our formal application, we'd like to incorporate as much of that as possible moving forward. So we're all on the same page and just, having a good process here. So I just kind of want to run through the current project status, the existing conditions, proposed conditions, and then kind of our schedule and where we're going from here. As Lori had mentioned, this has been in the works conceptually for a while. And tonight we're here starting the process, and then we're looking to come back filing next month for the December hearing formally. And then looking for a next year construction as soon as we can in the spring. So the existing conditions, about 12.33 acres is this parcel, and it is zoned in the hospital zoning district. The institutional district. The project itself, it's on the southeasterly side. Underneath that orange is the little wing that will be coming down. It's about 10,000 square feet of demolition, and that proposed addition is roughly 35,000 square feet, so a net new of about 26,000 square feet. Various site features, as you can see on the plan, is the colored wetlands. So the site is pretty constrained with wetlands pretty much around the perimeter. This is the new wetlands that were recently surveyed in close proximity. And one of the drivers is going to be, we don't want to impact those wetlands. We're going to keep development outside. So you can see the site is getting constrained. We will be looking to realign some roads and making sure everything is still adequate for emergency access getting around there and site circulation. The site is accessed with the 2 curb cuts right around the main hospital. We aren't changing any of that coming off of County Road. And we're primarily doing all the work in the rear where a lot of the facilities and loading currently occur. There's a small loading dock or access into the lower level there. Existing drainage is pretty basic out there today, very little water quality treatment. It's primarily collected in catch basins or just runs off and then is routed to the wetland system around the facility. And then just some studies to date that we've done over the past month, 6 weeks. We did the wetlands study for this general area, so we know where those wetlands are. We've done a full existing condition survey of this area. It's about 7 acres or so within this general spot. We've done some traffic counts so we can understand the traffic in and out, are there going to be any impacts, as well as parking, so we can understand the current utilization of the parking out there. We really don't want to add more parking than we need to and keep that site development as minimal as possible. We have geotechnical exploration scheduled in a couple weeks in November, and we've also started some of the data checks with Natural Heritage Bureau, U.S. Fish and Wildlife to make sure we have no adverse impacts to those cultural priority resources in the area. And we did get a clean letter back from NHB saying the project limits are not adversely going to impact any of those communities. Proposed conditions, general overview, it is a 2-level building. There will be a lower level that's a little bit smaller than the larger piece that you see on the top. And like I said, about 36,000 total square feet, about a net new of 26, with the partial demo of that existing structure to accommodate the 4 operating rooms, which is a replacement project for the 2 that are currently there, and then 2 additional for the added capacity. As I had mentioned, we're really looking to reduce the site impacts out here. And part of the plan that you see here that we're working through, I don't know if you can, I don't know if that works up here. It's not going to work on that screen. It works back here. There's the area that's dashed currently, that's going to be some contractor laydown area. And with our parking study, we're anticipating we're going to need to provide about 20 to 25 new parking spaces. And that's generally the area that we anticipate those going, or looking at some modifications to the existing parking. And about 5 or 6 years ago, there was a previously approved parking plan to expand some parking in the area. So it may mimic some of that that you've already seen before, but we're going to right-size it and also include the stormwater management likely in that area as well. Loading facilities are generally in the back in the similar location. That will be going down into the lower level. Well, I shouldn't really say going down. The grades aren't going down too much. The grades will come up a little bit to support that, and that will provide a much-needed materials management area and formal load and dock for the facility. On the utilities front, Lori had mentioned the work that the whole mechanical, electrical, plumbing team has been putting into this. They've been doing a ton of work to understand the water, what's been going on for the history of that, and they'll be presenting that next week at the water precinct. Additionally, sewer capacity was not really identified as a concern out there, so we will be updating if we're going to be connecting internally or have a new connection out on the site. These are some of the things that are still being developed as we're moving through this conceptual phase. Grading on the site will be fairly minimal. We do anticipate the need for a retaining wall. As we're getting closer to that wetland, everything's getting a little bit squeezed in there, so we will likely need a retaining wall to have adequate and safe access along that. And that will also allow for a sidewalk along the front of the building for safer pedestrian accommodations. Additionally, the stormwater management will be a big one. They'll all be designed in accordance to the local and state regulations. And as far as the permitting goes, we're anticipating site plan review with the planning board. We are going to be outside of those wetlands, so conservation approval or a variance related to that is not anticipated. And then on the state side of things, the sewer connection permit, if we are going to be extending any of the laterals to connect in on the site, and potentially we're still evaluating the need for an alteration of terrain permit. I believe we're going to be under that 100,000 square foot threshold, so I do not believe we will need that. And then on the federal side, the construction general permit for any impacts over an acre will get pulled in for that. So yeah, from a high level, that's currently where we're at. Definitely like to get some input, some thoughts on the current plan that you'd see, and then we can look to incorporate that and come back with our formal plan in a few weeks.
All right, yeah.
What will you use for heat for this addition? Is it propane? And will you have to increase the size of the tank?
Sorry.
I'm sorry,
That's
that's
out of
not
my
yours?
expertise.
Sorry.
Good evening, I'm Dave Duncan. I'm the VP of Facilities. So I am an engineer. The plan is to make the building extremely sustainable. So the vision is to have it an all-electric building. So it will be all-electric heat. It'll be all-electric cooling. So right now, no fossil fuel.
Thanks, Dave. Other questions from the board?
Could you address, excuse me, the wetlands, oh, sorry. Could you address the wetlands? You mentioned it, and I'm not clear exactly how you're going to have to interact with those.
So the goal is we aren't going to be impacting them at all. So the limits of our work will be outside of the limits of the wetland is our goal, and we're striving to do that. In order to accomplish that, we anticipate we're going to need some walls in close proximity, just so we can alter that grade and pull that the drive aisle. Right now, that drive aisle is very tight as you move around the building, so we need that to have adequate space for emergency vehicles traversing around, and then just safety again, so we don't want anyone hitting the buildings.
That includes any expansion of your parking that's not going to be impacting the wetlands at all?
Correct. Yeah, the goal is we will be fitting the additional 25 spaces. They will fit in this general area, and then we do have an opportunity and outside of the wetland area and fit the stormwater management in that same location.
What is currently in the small wing that's going to be disassembled, shall we say?
It's vacant, right? It's the old.
It's actually, when the Clough Center closed, we were not able to meet the regulations for that to be clinical space any longer. And so that has been office space on the first floor, the main floor, where the rooms were. In fact, my office is a previous resident room. And the lower level is where materials management, our supply chain is. So it's a big open space with lots of shelving, and the trucks kind of pull right up there and deliver, and then it's delivered through the rest of the hospital. The other is facilities. Our facilities office is down there. So that's what's in that space.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we are moving around the building and into, we've been working on the medical affiliates building, which is in our parking lot. The third floor of that used to be all of our billing services, and now we're using that for displaced people who are losing their offices.
So you're going to be using that building, and it hasn't been used for a while, right?
Much of it hasn't been used for a while. The second floor is used with the Helm Conference Room. That's pretty well utilized. The third floor has been used by some of the Conifer team, and our surgical services support team, our pre-admission testing, our scheduling, they're all on the third floor, and they will eventually move into new space in this building. So we're doubling up on, people are sharing offices for a while until they're able to move out. Yeah.
But you will use that building for some type of operation?
Yes, we actually have been talking with a couple of different groups at Dartmouth Hitchcock about some of the clinical services they'd like to be able to offer in this community. It needs a little bit of renovation, a little TLC on the second floor there where ophthalmology was. But we do anticipate using that floor for that purpose, and the first floor is being used for some other office space right now. Yes.
With the idea being fully electric, do you plan for any solar panels or any ground-mounted, roof-mounted? There's just slightly different process if you are for each of those.
We're looking at all that now, yes, yeah. The roof will have a big air handler on it because the operating room requires the most amount of air, fresh air coming in, and the most amount of conditioned air, temperature, and humidity. So the system is big, but around that will be assessed or set up for future solar.
If it's on the roof, that's typically just a building permit process through, in this case, the State Fire Marshal's office. If you look at ground mounted, then it is part of the site plan review process. So just having that planned for, depending on which way.
We're pretty confident that it'll be on the roof.
Okay, great.
There'll be a generator, an additional generator put on the ground as part of the site plan.
Great.
Other questions from the board? Yeah. It's a conceptual only, but I'll just, since we have only a few people, any questions from the public?
Just had John Ellis, I just had a question, just to understand, the yellow highlighted area, is this the area you're expanding into?
That's the new building.
And will that be the 36,000 square feet, is that right? And that will be entering into some of the area where Continuum was going to be building, or that won't even go anywhere near that?
Happy to answer that question. So Continuum was never going to use any of this parcel of land. The Continuum project, which did not meet the requirements of the development agreement for us to convey the property to them. We still own that parcel, but anything Continuum was doing was on that parcel. At one time, though, there was, Continuum was going to, because they were going to be taking part of our parking lot, they had permitted a new parking lot that they were going to build on the hospital property for use by the hospital. It was a trade, basically. But that never happened, and that's what Eric was referring to as far as that permitted plan and utilizing some of the elements of that as we think about parking here.
Okay, thanks. Basically, you'll be adding, and correct me, 4 additional surgical rooms, is that 2 additional ones? And then in regard to the water question, the consumption of water that was used in is it the Cleft Center, I guess? How would that compare to what that would be adding 2 more rooms? Or if you have any data on that?
I don't have any data on that. Our engineers are working on that and trying to figure out what the incremental increases would be. We do know that our water consumption during the period of time, just from the time the Cleft Center closed until 2019, was twice as much as it is today. We had some systems in place that utilized a lot of water, and we changed them out. So we are using actually more than 50% less water than we did for a 6-year period during that time. So when the Cleft Center was there and when those systems were in place. So, we're working with the water precinct on that, and our engineers are doing all of those studies to determine the biggest area in this space that will use water is central sterile reprocessing. The good part about it is we already do central sterile reprocessing, and some of our equipment is quite old, so we'll be replacing it with more efficient units, which we actually replaced one unit last year, a new efficient. We basically do twice as many instrument cleanings with the same amount of water. It's just amazing, the difference. So we're really looking at all of those things and how we can build as much efficiencies into that system as we can, as well as we've really, you know, other than some big things that we've done to decrease our water consumption, we have some other opportunities that our engineers are also working with us on how we could do that so that we could make this as water neutral as possible.
Great. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Lori.
And then last is I hope you'll consider solar.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
I do have one comment. Just the existing operating rooms are two 400 square foot operating rooms. This new building will be built and it'll have 4 700 square foot operating rooms. And that's more the contemporary size today to be able to do the surgery, but more importantly, to have all the technology in there in and around the surgery. So, you know, it's almost a 2-car garage operating room, you know, so, and as Laurie described, the goal is to literally build this new building with no disruption to surgery, turn on the new building, and then go in and do some of the minor renovations. So literally no or minimal downtime to surgery while this project gets built, because it's probably an 18-month construction project, so.
That's helpful. Thanks, Dave. Other questions from the board? Well, exciting stuff. Anything else? Okay. Well, appreciate you coming and giving us a preview of coming attractions. Looking forward to digging into it more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just, I guess, real quick, as far as the December schedule goes, we typically count on not having our second meeting in December, the week of Christmas, so just keep that in mind.
We know that.
Okay.
I imagine not what you want either.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Perfect. Thanks, all three of you. Appreciate it.
I think just give them the reminder for Friday morning. Okay. That's good.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
I'm just kidding. Identify yourself. Are you a spy?
So Friday morning, we will have our work session here at 7:30 with the Housing Commission, so hopefully you are able to make it. We will stay pretty strict to 9 o'clock cutoff, so that those that need to get on with their day and get to work can do so, and so that the rest of us can maybe take a nap after that. But so I think Tim sent out the updated red lines over the weekend while I was out. So thank you for doing that. And it should be a good conversation. I think if you didn't have a chance to attend last week's housing forum, it is on the website. It might be worth, it's not too long. I think it was an hour and a half or so. And probably some portions of things you could watch at double speed because you've seen them at different times. But I think it would be helpful if you are planning to be there Friday and you weren't able to go last week to watch that. From anybody who was there last week, do you have anything to add, any takeaways or?
Just, I would say briefly, I spoke to Peter. He thought, and I agreed, that maybe we would try to tackle at least 2 on Friday and then maybe another 2 another time. So we don't try to get bogged down on all of them. But if you get a chance to review the docs that I sent out, that would be great. Obviously, there's a lot of red in there. So, but we don't be afraid that we're going to try to do it all in one session. As Adam said, we're going to try to stick to that 9 o'clock cutoff, and we'll get through as much as we can.
And we will The Housing Commission will be joining us for two, what is it, the 31st and the 14th. But keep the 7th, Friday the 7th, on your calendars now if you can, because we have a couple things, I think, that are not Housing Commission related that I might, depending on how it seems like our time is being used with the Housing Commission, pull you guys in to work on those. So if we can do them during the other meetings or the next planning board meeting, that's great. Don't need to drag you in here unnecessarily, but just keep it on your calendar for now, and sometime in the next week we'll pin that down.
Sounds good. Any other comments, questions? Anybody? Anyone from the public? Okay. Thanks, John. I guess I just need a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye.